If you enjoy what you hear here today, please consider supporting me on my Patreon page. Every dollar helps, and you get to see content that you won't see here. Chapter 6. Enough to be concerned. Rainbow Dash woke up to a persistent poking sensation irritating her right cheek.
Hey, Rainbow Dash, wake up. Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
An annoyingly chipper voice said, as a small hoof continued to poke at her cheek. Rainbow couldn't help but smile a little as she opened her eyes. There were certainly worse ways to wake up than to an adorable filly 2 inches from her face. On the other hoof, Rainbow worked hard to cement her reputation as the kind of no-nonsense ponies that other ponies wouldn't dare to wake up, lest a terrible wrath come crashing down on them. In one smooth motion, she ripped the covers off and flipped around, grabbing Scootaloo and pinning the filly on her back.
Well, I'm awake,
Rainbow said as a wry grin spread across her face.
What about you, huh? Are you awake, Scoots?
The young filly looked up with uncertainty.
Yes? It sounds like you're awake, but just to be careful, I'd better check.
Rainbow then mercilessly started to tickle Scootaloo. The filly squirmed, but Rainbow Dash just held her down. Every time Scootaloo would twist to avoid the torturous hooves, Rainbow would just switch her target. The filly burst out laughing and flailed helplessly against the larger and stronger pony.
Stop! I'm awake!
Scootaloo gasped out in between bouts of laughter. Rainbow eased up her assault and hopped down off the bed.
Morning, Squirt.
Scootaloo half glowered as she caught her breath.
You don't play fair.
Rainbow scooped the little filly up in her forelegs and gave her a quick nuzzle.
Never,
she said with a grin. Scootaloo nuzzled back before Rainbow set her down on the ground. Rainbow wasn't really much of a morning pony. Usually her morning routine consisted of a quick shower, a swig of orange juice, and a Pop-Tart as she bolted out the door. But with Scootaloo around, Rainbow felt an odd desire to set a better example. While Scootaloo got ready for school, Rainbow set about making some toast with carrot jam. It occurred to her that it was possible that this would have to become an everyday thing. If it did become an everyday occurrence, that would severely cut down the number of hours she could spend sleeping. But right now, it seemed like a worthy trade-off. As if to prove her point, Scootaloo came bounding down the stairs with a wide smile that made Rainbow feel just a little bit more warm and fuzzy than she cared to admit.
This is delicious! How come every pony is always saying you can't cook?
Scootaloo asked as she wolfed down her toast with orange juice.
Because I don't do it very often. But you live alone for long enough and you pick up a few tricks. Can you teach me how to cook? Probably not, but I'll show you what I know. Not right now, though, because if we don't get going, even I won't be able to get you to school on time.
A few minutes later, Scootaloo was settled comfortably atop Rainbow's head, and she was headed down to the school. Before she landed, she quickly scanned the area for guards, and was relieved to find that they were still keeping their distance. She landed and bent down to let Scootaloo climb off, and the filly waved goodbye and headed inside. Rainbow was about to fly off to complete her shift on the weather patrol when she heard a cheery voice from behind her call out.
Excuse me, Rainbow Dash, can I talk to you for a moment?
Rainbow turned around to see Ponyville's resident school teacher, Cheerily.
Sure, what's up?
Rainbow had never really had more than a 2-word conversation with Cheerily. She didn't have any foals of her own to attend school, and it wasn't like the two ponies had a lot in common.
Some ponies from FPS came by early this morning. They said that until otherwise notified, you would be Scootaloo's legal guardian. Is everything okay with her?
Rainbow found herself unsure how much she could tell Cheerily. It occurred to her that if Cheerilee knew what was going on, simply having that knowledge might put her in danger. She wasn't exactly sure how far Lightning was willing to go, but she didn't want to bet on him being merciful. She also remembered Scootaloo's desire to not tell any pony.
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm just wanting Scoots for a couple days, that's all. Okay, well, then I need to know how to reach you in case of an accident, and you need to designate some pony as Scootaloo's emergency contact if we can't reach you. Weather Patrol will usually know where I am if I'm not home, and if you can't find me, Fluttershy will probably know what to do, so, yeah. I'll note that in Scootaloo's file. As of now, you're the only one who's allowed to take her out of class. Do you want to add anyone to the list? Yeah, better go with Fluttershy again.
Cheerilee nodded.
Is there anything else I should know?
She asked that last question with enough of an edge to suggest that she thought Rainbow might be holding something back.
I can't think of anything.
Rainbow said in what she hoped was a nonchalant tone. Cheerilee looked a little skeptical, but smiled anyway.
All right. That's all I need to know for now. Just have Scootaloo tell me when she's back with her mom so I can switch her emergency contacts. Sure thing. Thanks, Cheerilee.
With that, Rainbow flew off, making a mental note to tell Fluttershy that she was now Scoot's backup emergency contact. She didn't think Fluttershy would mind. She took care of animals for a living, so what was one more filly to potentially add to that list? Rainbow's shift at the Weather Patrol was uneventful. Applejack had requested a quick shower for the South Orchard, and there were some unauthorized clouds over the east side of town that needed to be broken up, but other than that, Rainbow spent her day lounging on a cloud, waiting for a radio call to alert her to any unforeseen weather emergencies. No calls came in, and so she was understandably surprised when she went back to headquarters to clock out and found 2 Pegasi waiting for her. Miss Dash, right? I'm Thundercloud. This is my partner, Firewing. A dark blue stallion said as he gestured to the red and yellow mare standing next to him. We're with FPS. We need to schedule an appointment to take your statement and do a comprehensive exam on Scootaloo. When would you be able to bring her in? Rainbow let her guard down as soon as she heard that the Pegasi waiting for her were from FPS, and not guards waiting to arrest her.
Tomorrow, first thing in the morning would probably be good.
All right. Tomorrow morning it is. See you then. The 2 Pegasi each gave Rainbow a nod, a goodbye, and then flew off. Since she was done with work for the day, Rainbow went out for a quick lunch, followed by some flight practice. But after that was over, she found herself with the rest of the afternoon to kill. Normally she would take a nap or maybe see if Pinky wanted to do some pranking, but right now, neither of those ideas seemed all that appealing. Instead, she found herself thinking about Scootaloo. She'd be getting out of school pretty soon. With that thought in her head, Rainbow flew over to the schoolyard just in time to catch the CMC being released.
Hey, Rainbow!
Scootaloo said as Rainbow landed near the trio.
We're heading over to Rarities. Cutie Mark Crusaders fashion models.
Sweetie Belle said as Applebloom and Scootaloo wrinkled their noses. The gesture was not unnoticed by the unicorn.
We said we'd help Rarity with her new line designed for fillies, and she needs a Pegasus, a unicorn, and an Earth pony to model for her.
Sweetie Belle said, ignoring the distaste of her friends.
We did kinda say that,
Scootaloo said reluctantly.
Is it okay if I go over to Rarities? Why are you asking Rainbow Dash?
Applebloom asked, curious as to why Scoots would need Rainbow's permission for anything.
Oh, I'm staying with Rainbow for a few days because my mom isn't feeling well.
Scootaloo hoped her explanation was convincing enough to prevent her friends from asking any more questions. Applebloom and Sweetie Belle shrugged, as though this made perfect sense, or they knew enough not to question Scootaloo when she brought up her sometimes mysterious home life.
So is it okay if I go to Rarities? Sure, Squirt. I'll leave the cloud ladder down. Just be back before it gets dark, okay?
Scootaloo being gone for the rest of the afternoon gave Rainbow an idea for how to fill the rest of her day. As soon as the trio of fillies was out of sight, she set about making her way to Cloudsdale, as the flying city was pretty close right now. She found a furniture shop and bought an enchanted dresser and desk set to go along with a filly-sized cloud bed. It wasn't cheap, and she had to pay the furniture company extra to get the furniture rushed to her house that afternoon. But Rainbow couldn't remember the last time she was happier about spending money. She spent the rest of the afternoon assembling and rearranging furniture in what was now her guest room, and in what could someday be Scootaloo's room. Just the idea that Scootaloo would have a permanent place to stay in her house made her feel an odd sense of serenity, like such a thing was meant to be. She was busy putting the finishing touches on the room when she heard the doorbell ring. She cautiously went to the door and was relieved to find that it was just Scootaloo returning from her misadventures as a fashion model.
You locked the door,
Scootaloo said, looking more than a little annoyed at her honorary big sister.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Guess I should probably get you a spare key, huh? But hey, I have a surprise upstairs that I think might make it up to you.
At the mention of a surprise, Scootaloo's ears perked up and her wings began to buzz.
Is it a new scooter? Wonderbolts tickets? My very own cannon that I can shoot myself out of so I can practice being a stunt pony? It's none of those things, Squirt. Just come on up and see.
The two Pegasi went upstairs and Rainbow opened the door with a flourish.
Ta-da! It's your very own room. What do you think?
Rainbow looked down at the young filly, expecting to see a look of unbridled joy, but instead just got a blank expression. She quickly tried to recover.
I know it's not really decorated yet, but we can pick up some posters tomorrow. If you don't like the furniture, I can always send it back, I think. No, it's not that. This is really nice of you, but if I have my own room, that means I won't get to sleep in your bed.
The little filly pawed at the ground.
I like it there. It's warm. It's safe. I know nothing bad can happen to me there. Well, I'll tell you what, kid. If you ever feel scared or worried, you can dart right across the hall and hop in my bed. Will you still tell me bedtime stories? Yeah, of course.
Scootaloo's face lit up as she realized that she now had her very own room in Rainbow's house, and she didn't have to forfeit her favorite refuge. Her eyes got bigger as she wandered into the room and started imagining all the things she could do with the blank canvas of space.
Let's see here. I want a Wonderbolts poster on that wall. I can keep my CMC stuff over there. And I can put my scooter in the corner. Can I get a hook for my helmet? Sure, Squirt. We can get all that stuff tomorrow. Now, go get washed up for dinner, okay? I'm gonna order us some pizza. Thanks, Rainbow. You're the best.
Scootaloo said as she gave Rainbow Dash a quick hug. Rainbow gave Scootaloo's mane a quick tousle before heading downstairs and ordering the pizza. That evening felt like just another normal evening with the two of them together. Scootaloo clearly preferred not to talk about her home life, and Rainbow couldn't think of anything to say anyways. As a result, they both ignored the elephant in the room. Rainbow had finished tucking Scootaloo in for the night in her new room when she realized that she forgot to tell the little filly about their FPS appointment. It wasn't news that she particularly wanted to break, but it would be worse if she just sprung it on her as they headed out the door.
So, listen, kid. We need to go over to FPS tomorrow. We're gonna ask you a few questions about Lightning Strike, and with any luck, they can get all this sorted out.
Rainbow said, hoping not to upset Scootaloo too badly. She squirmed uncomfortably nonetheless.
I don't want to talk about it. I just want to pretend it never happened.
Rainbow sat down next to her.
I know, but it did happen. And pretending like it didn't will only make things worse. If we want to help you, then you're gonna need to help us too, kid. Right now, you're the only one who can stop him. But I promise I'll be with you the whole time.
The promise that Rainbow would be there with her seemed to calm the young filly's nerves. She nodded, and Rainbow gave her a quick kiss on the forehead before retiring to her own room for the night. The next morning, the two Pegasi found themselves at the FPS offices. The Full Protective Services satellite office in Ponyville was located on the western edge of town. It was housed in a nondescript building that it shared with most of the other government agencies with offices in Ponyville. Despite it ostensibly being there to provide services for needing foals, there was very little about the office that was child-friendly, save for a few coloring books in the waiting room. The rest of the office was a maze of cubicles, filing cabinets, and busy ponies rushing to and from various activities. In short, it looked just like any other government building. Scootaloo hid herself behind Rainbow's forelegs, and Rainbow looked around for the Pegasi she had seen yesterday. Ah, Miss Dash, Thundercloud said as he appeared from around the corner. He then kneeled down to face the filly still hiding behind Rainbow's forelegs. You must be Scootaloo. Scootaloo nodded, but kept Rainbow between herself and this new stallion she had never met. All right, here's how this is going to go. Nothing nefarious, I assure you. You're going to come with me. I'm going to ask you a few questions. He then turned his attention to Rainbow. Firewing will take your statement in room 203, just over there. Rainbow Dash eyed Thundercloud warily. She had no doubt that his intentions were good, but her protective instincts were kicked into overdrive by the tactile sensation of Scootaloo huddling behind her.
I'm going with her,
she said, that offered neither threat nor ambiguity. I'm sorry, Miss Dash, but protocol dictates that we talk to Scootaloo without any other adults present. Rest assured, she is in good hooves. Scootaloo stayed rooted behind Rainbow's forelegs, and Rainbow herself refused to move. Thundercloud kept his face calm and his voice neutral. Miss Dash, protocol exists for a reason. If an adult is in the room, it could prejudice her testimony. I respect that you feel you're trying to protect her, but you need to let us do our job.
If you did your job, I wouldn't be here,
Rainbow said tersely. Thunderclap chose to ignore the cheap shot and continued. I promise, we aren't going to do anything more than ask her a few questions and perform a simple, non-invasive medical examination. If it goes beyond that, and that's a big if, we will get your permission before proceeding. You have my word. Rainbow Dash and Thundercloud eyed each other for several moments. Finally, Rainbow let out a sigh. Much as she hated to admit it, Thundercloud wasn't a bad pony. He was an overworked employee doing a job that brought him in contact with some truly horrific situations. If he could stand to be a little friendlier, it was only because his detachment was probably the only way he could deal with the emotional trauma of his job. Rainbow nodded in consolation. She then kneeled down and gently rested a hoof on the shoulder of a nervous Scootaloo.
Hey, it's okay, Scoots. It's still just like what we talked about. Talk with Thundercloud, answer his questions, and before you know it, it'll all be over, and we can go spend the day in Clodsdale or something, okay?
Scootaloo cautiously stepped out from behind her haven and followed Thundercloud down the hall while Rainbow looked around for the room marked 203. She found it easily enough, entered it, and found Firewing sitting there with a file and a notebook at a plain brown table. Rainbow sat down across from her and looked in her direction expectantly. Firewing wasted no time with pleasantries or friendly banter.
Okay, Miss Dash, let's start with how you came to suspect that Scootaloo was being abused.
And so Rainbow Dash launched into the story of how Scootaloo had practically gone catatonic after just knocking over a lamp, and everything that had happened after that. She told her about the full napping charge, Lightning's threat after the meeting with Celestia, and how Scootaloo was still clearly nervous that she would be hurt whenever she did something wrong. Throughout the story, Firewing remained dispassionate, nodding along and writing down a few notes.
Have you ever seen lightning strike hit Scootaloo?
Firewing asked when Rainbow had finished her story.
No. Has any pony you know ever seen lightning strike hit any pony? No, but have you ever witnessed any bruises or other marks on Scootaloo? No, but has lightning strike ever explicitly admitted to you that he hurt Scootaloo?
Rainbow became exasperated at the singular line of questioning.
No! Look, I told you what I know. Why isn't that enough?
Firewing dropped her composure for a moment, and something that sounded a lot like sympathy crept into her voice.
I believe you, but what I believe and what I can prove are two very different things. I don't want to see her get hurt again. Isn't that what you guys are all supposed to do? Yes, Miss Dash, but there are still rules we have to follow. And one of the rules is to collect hard evidence.
Rainbow Dash nodded. As hard as it may have been for her to accept, Firewing wasn't trying to obstinate. She was just doing her job, like her partner. Rainbow wasn't really mad at her. She was mad at Lightning Strike for hurting Scootaloo. She was mad that the system wasn't built to magically solve all her problems with one fell swoop. But most of all, she was mad at herself for feeling so powerless. Scootaloo had put the last remaining hope she had in Rainbow Dash, and despite the obvious good she had done already, she was still worried that she wasn't worthy of the honor. After she was finished giving her statement, Rainbow went to the waiting room and waited for Scootaloo to come out. When she finally did, maybe 20 minutes later, Scootaloo looked a bit shaken up, but otherwise seemed no worse for wear. The filly ran over and instinctively pressed herself close to Rainbow Dash, who reached down with her wings and repositioned the filly so she was secure on her back, and in response, Scootaloo snuggled against the soft prismatic mane. There appears to be enough here to warrant concern, Thundercloud said as he glanced at his partner's notes. We'll be in touch. Rainbow nodded. Right now, she was a lot more worried about the filly on her back than the investigation.